Hey guys, Sony has shocked, or at least surprised the world with the launch of the A7R Mark III, the successor to this camera, the A7R Mark II. In this video, I'm going to give you 5 reasons not to upgrade to the new camera. Yes, I am here to pour cold water on your gas, your gear acquisition syndrome. Reason number 1, the same sensor. Yes, the A7R Mark III has exactly the same sensor as the A7R Mark II. Now, it's a fantastic sensor, 42.5 megapixels, backside illumination, all that jazz. But at the end of the day, the image quality is going to be basically the same. Number 2, no flip-out screen or fully articulating screen. Yes, Sony is sticking with the same archaic tilty screen, but it doesn't flip. It doesn't turn around to the side or the front. A lot of other manufacturers got this memo a long time ago, Sony. I mean, look at Panasonic with its GH series. Sony's building these great hybrid cameras that are brilliant still cameras and video cameras, and then they cripple them with a screen that will not rotate to the side or the front. You know, I don't know how many engineers Sony has on staff, but somebody there needs to figure out how to make a hinge, okay, with a swivel. It can't be that complicated. That would be a reason for a lot of video guys to upgrade. Number 3, another video feature that's crucially important for a lot of people, 4K 60p. There's no 60 frames per second shooting in the 4K mode in the new camera. And I don't really get why Sony is being so reluctant to embrace 4K 60p. Not only the A7R Mark III, but in a lot of their new video cameras, they're sticking with 30 frames per second in the 4K mode. And that's just not enough to motivate a lot of people to upgrade. Number 4, no apps. Apparently this is true on the A9 and also the new A7R Mark III. This is an example of new Sony acting just like old Sony. Old Sony would sell you all sorts of proprietary stuff, and then every few years they would change course, and it would basically make all of that old stuff you paid all that money for pretty much worthless. And this is exactly what they are doing now with the App Store. Sony had a brilliant idea several years ago when they created the App Store. The idea of putting apps on their cameras to enhance the functionality is brilliant. However, their execution could not have been much worse. The apps are slow, they're clunky. You know, in a lot of cases, they took features out of firmware and turned them into apps. Worst of all, they did not open up the App Store to third-party developers. So with the App Store, you're kind of stuck with, I don't know, a few dozen first-party apps that Sony has created. So why am I ticked off that you can't use apps in the new cameras? Well, a few of those apps are quite useful. The time-lapse app especially, because there's no other easy way to shoot an in-camera time-lapse with these cameras. Again, other manufacturers build these features into the firmware. If Sony was wrapping all of those apps up into the firmware and just bundling them up and giving them out with the camera firmware, then I would say that's probably a good move. It makes sense. But that's not what they're doing, apparently. They are simply eliminating the apps from the new cameras. So all those apps that you paid money for the past few years, you can't use with your new cameras. It doesn't really make much sense to me. And I think Sony has missed a massive opportunity here by not better developing the App Store. Finally, the number 5 reason not to upgrade to the new cameras is the battery situation. And I know many of you will disagree with this because the Alpha 9 and the A7R Mark III introduce a new battery that provides about double the battery life in real-world shooting. And so obviously that's a nice upgrade, but there's a downside to that. And that's if you're like me and you have APS-C Sony cameras alongside your full frame cameras, then it's kind of convenient to have this older battery design that you can mix and match with all the different cameras. They're super cheap. You can buy them in the aftermarket for about 10 bucks a piece, and they're really lightweight. It's no big deal to carry 2 or 3 of these things around with you when you need to. So unless you're shooting an event or a wedding or something and you really need that battery life, in which case you use a battery grip. Unless you need all that, then there's no reason that these old batteries can't get the job done. They have for me for many years. So that's it, guys. 5 reasons not to upgrade to the new camera. I'll put a little asterisk by this because as reports of the camera come out, I'm sure I will be increasingly tempted to make the switch. But overall, I'm loving the A7R Mark II. Very happy with this camera. You're getting a hell of a lot of camera with the A7R Mark II. And in fact, if you're in the market for one, there's probably never been a better time to buy one, because with the announcement of the new camera, the used values of the old camera are dropping down, as you might expect. What do you think? Are you going to upgrade to the A7R Mark III? Or are you perfectly content with your A7R Mark II or A7 II or A7 or Alpha 6000 or whatever you might be shooting with? Post a comment, let me know. And if you have decided not to heed my advice and you want to get the A7R Mark III, of course there will be an affiliate link in the YouTube description for this video. If you click that link, it would be greatly appreciated. And you can go in there on Amazon, read reviews, and maybe get your camera there. Until next time, I'm Sean. This is a little channel that is sometimes known as loloho.photo or Sean Michael Photography, whatever we're calling it these days. Loloho.
If you liked the video, give it a thumbs up. If you disliked it, give it a thumbs down. Feel free to leave a comment. And of course, don't forget to subscribe.